Could you give a bit more of a detailed description of what it is to understand, understand, and overstand something?
That's what religious people do. They get self-righteous. They think because I belong to this group called Christian or Muslims or Jews or Hindus or Buddhist or whatever they are part of, as in that club, they then look at everyone else as being unrighteous, infidel, and you're a heathen and you're this. Until you, who are just a normal person, goes to the church, just using common sense, and you ask the pastor or the imam or the rabbi or the reverend a question, something very simple, and they can't answer. And at that point, they turn it around on you and say, you need Jesus.
People forget black boys can smile. Like,
Oh man, I think we should use that line. Like literally, people just smiling can avoid so much.
Emotion is energy in motion.
That's right.
Could you just dive into that a bit more?
If you ever see how a microwave works, because what you do is you take meat or food or whatever, you put it inside this box, the lasers then provide heat to the meat to get the atoms and the molecules vibrating, which is what you call friction, to make it heat up. And then you kill off all the nutrients and then you eat it with no nutrients, which is like you've just taken something that was good for you, healthy and alive, and killed it and then put it into yourself. This is why we say don't eat dead stuff, because it's all about the energy and the vibration. Like
Life breeds life.
life breeds life, and the blood of the animals, the spirits in the blood. So when you're digesting that or intaking it, it's in your matrix and it's in your system. So you find people who eat meat are more aggressive. You know, they tell you that a lot of boxers or people that need aggression, they feed that negative reptilian nature as opposed to the more Natharu or our ancestors who were agreeable nature. And this is where we're saying that you do have both sides of agreeable and disagreeable, but you can be predominantly one or the other.
Hi, my name's Isaiah. I am 18 years old and I'm a young creative who aspires to make change and open minds, but I have a lot to learn before I can do that. So I'm here with my teacher, ready to learn.
Nice to meet you, Isaiah. Rahubat. That means greetings in our language, Miss Batia. My name's Saken. You know, you're probably one of the youngest people to come and have this conversation, and for that alone, I'm really excited to have a conversation with you, because we know that the children, I use the word children because, you know, Whitney Houston said, you know, teach the children well because they're the future. And in Wu-Sabat, we actually really, you know, recognize that we've got to reach the young people because we're losing them. So
Definitely.
yeah, so Wu-Sabat is the answer to help them, but a lot of them are not familiar with it, and a lot of them might not really relate to it because they might think it's religion, but it's not. So yeah, glad to meet you and to have this
Definitely, man.
conversation.
I'm very delighted to be here, honestly, and to hear that I'm
Yeah,
one of the youngest, or if not the youngest person you've had on your show. It is a delight and a blessing to be here. And
yeah. So we could just go straight into it. Ask any question about anything. You know, we can have a conversation about whatever you want to know more about. I mean, I can give you a little introduction to Wu-Sabat.
definitely, I think that will be helpful to me.
As I already said, yeah, it's the answer,
watching.
not just for young people,
Yeah.
but it's the answer for humanity. And we know that because since we dropped our first video on OSM Vision, we've had so many people contact us from all over the world. I mean, literally every country. And we set up a Telegram group because we know, you know, Telegram can have a lot of members, and we're encouraging anyone who comes in contact with us to join the Telegram group, because we not only answer questions on the camera and on YouTube live, we ask us anything, but we carry on answering questions throughout every day, you know what I mean, anytime, because there are people in different time zones. So you can ask your question in the Telegram group as well.
Sorry to cut you off, but
No,
I've joined the Telegram group and just seeing.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, like
Oh,
seeing how
excellent.
active you guys are answering the questions in the Telegram group and how detailed you are in your answers. It is very enlightening. Just being able to wake up in the morning and want to take in positive energy,
Yeah.
knowing I can go there and read something that is educating me and uplifting my vibes.
Oh, that's great to know. But yeah, so Wu-Sabat covers everything you can think about covering like the physical world. You know, we are here in this 3D dimension with having to deal with just the everyday things in life. But we also know that we're not just our physical, so we deal with the spiritual aspects as well. And so there's a 360 degree. We use 360 degrees because not only do the numbers add up to nine, 360 is nine,
Yeah.
but it's because it's the highest number, and it's because we have to use a representation that means a full completion. And that's what the circle represents. So we say 360 degrees of physical information and 360 degrees of spirit, what people call spiritual information. And the two combined is really dealing with energy. And as you know, you can't destroy energy. So you have to think, if you can't destroy energy, then what happens to it? It basically travels, it transforms, and yeah. So Wu-Sabat is here to really help anybody and anyone who's about world peace, who is about unification, coming together as a people. And this is why we went through many schools of religions that actually do the opposite, which is divide people based on beliefs. And everyone will say, I believe this. The other will say, I believe this. And then they disagree and argue. Those arguments escalate to the point where, you know, you have wars and people even going as far as unliving each other. If you look at it all the way from the top, what they would consider to be the elite, all the way down, it's because of differences in opinions. You know, so what Wu-Sabat does is it cancels all that out by starting from the basis of what unites us. You know, what do we all agree on? And if you've just took all the elements of what we all agree on from all the religions and put it into a circle, a box, and then deal with the facts about it, and not because of my opinion or your opinion, then that's kind of the closest thing you will be getting to Wu-Sabat.
Okay.
So Wu-Sabat literally deals with facts and deals with you doing your own research, checking things out for yourself and getting confirmations for yourself. So I hope that's given you a bit of a
Definitely.
flavour of what Wu-Sabat is about.
It
So
has, in terms of a introductory point for where this conversation can lead off, I think something that stuck out to me in what you said was Wu-Sabat is a lot about teaching people about energy. Something still gauging and understanding is, or something my sister said to me, which I'm grasping, is emotion is energy in motion.
that's right.
Could you just dive into that a bit more?
Okay. When we say things, it's important for people to be able to differentiate what makes something a thing. And one of the obstacles is really the language that we use, the English language. So when you say things, we say something. And what we're really saying phonetically is the sum of a thing, because things are quantified by their weight. So in order for something to be considered a thing, it's like the scientists have to say it exists. And so what they started to do was try and find the smallest thing that exists. Because another thing is that things expand and grow. So the smallest thing that they used to say existed was the hydrogen atom, because they go, but okay, if you look at things, everything is solid, but the more you delve into detail about the thing, whatever it is, you start to find that it's composed of smaller layers and smaller layers and smaller layers and smaller layers. So they used to say that hydrogen was the smallest atom. That was prior to discovering that there were states beyond the hydrogen atom, right? When they subdivided the atom, they started to realize the more they subdivided something, smaller it gets, and the smaller it gets, and it's kind of like non-ending. So when we're saying things move because everything is vibrating on a particular frequency, no matter what it is. This table's vibrating, you're vibrating, the room's vibrating, the planet's vibrating, everything's vibrating because everything is moving. Although to the naked eye, you might not see the movement because it might be so minute, but nevertheless, it's moving. So when you say energy in motion, the motion part is really relating to the fact that things are moving and the energy is moving because when you start to break things down to their smallest components, you're going to get to, as I said, atoms, quarks, zeelies, and or ziads, as some people say. And it's like, okay, so the entire planet is also moving. Not only is it moving in the sense of its orbit around the sun, but it's also moving in terms of its nutational rate. So it's wobbling and moving and constantly vibrating.
Can you move out of alignment with the planet?
You can and you can't because then that goes into things that are beyond the planet or outside of the planet.
On a more
But you can
spiritual level.
connect, yeah, you can connect and have access to the things outside the planet. Because whilst you're in the 3D world and your physical body's here, you're still connected to the other realms, but you can't just leave and escape with your physical body unless you are trained to know how, which is literally, as you say, turning yourself into an energy being, which is basically dealing with like, you know, light travels,
Yeah.
so you can turn into light and travel at the speed of light. And you can also leave once you cross over, or when you're what people call asleep, where you then travel without the physical body, your astral body. And people call that, you know, astral projection. And when people meditate, they can travel in the sense of connect with those higher realms whilst the body is still alive, but it has been reduced to a point where it's still there vibrating, but the consciousness is connecting to higher realms. So it will feel like you're no longer there in that physical body. Yeah. So energy in motion, literally saying all energy is moving and it's in motion. Now the point is what type of energy, because you can come in contact with someone. Even now, as we're talking, we're exchanging energy. You can feel someone's vibration. You know, you can go to an environment and the energy feels off, or someone can walk into the room and the energy changes, either positive or negative. And so when people get angry, for example, their energy changes and it can affect people around them because, you know, people say things like, when you get angry, you see red. And red is a vibration because when you start to look at colors, yeah, the mood that you're in has a vibration that relates to a particular color. So the environment, the colors around you have an effect on you. The clothes you wear, the music you listen to, the food you eat, everything you do has an energy and a vibration, which just, if you put food into yourself, that energy is now within you until, digest and then leaves you or whatever. So yeah, energy in motion is good energy in motion, or agreeable energy in motion, or disagreeable energy in motion. Or then you can have a balance where you're not agreeable and you're not disagreeable, you're just balanced. So you're not being pulled in one way or the other. And that's a difficult state to strive to be in at all times or constantly, because the balance, means that they say you're level, you're balanced, you're able to
Is
like,
that what people call the flow state?
yeah. So you're not easily
Swayed.
yeah, or staying on your square, because it just takes a second or someone or a thought or energy
It
or
really
something
does
to
be that
just,
thought a lot of the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
that will just switch you from being in the center to 1 degree either way. And then that can then spiral out of control, going in either direction.
Yeah. I think
So it's
that's
not about being too passive
yeah.
and it's not about being too aggressive. It's not about wearing clothes that are too revealing, but it's also not about covering yourself from head to toe. Everything in Wu-Sabat has to have that balance. Yeah, and then you kind of live, yeah, in that zone if you can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that Center, that word you use, I think it resonated with me. I
Mm,
think I spend a lot of my day watching my thoughts and
mm,
trying to stay in that center seat of my mind. But it's very easy to see something outside and get excited. Like me personally, I really like anime.
mm,
So if I see someone wearing a One Piece t-shirt,
mm.
I'm now thinking about One Piece. But
Yeah.
it's when I catch myself delving into that thought path where I'm like, okay, cool, I was here.
Mm,
Now I'm here.
mm,
It's understanding where I don't want to say went along the wrong steps because that makes me feel like it's bad to not be in the center.
mm,
But what was it that took me out of that center seat? And
mm,
then back trailing to how I can stay in that aligned space and that
mm,
center seat. But in terms of being able to receive and feel the energies around you, I've I've come across people where they're extremely sensitive to some of the energies around them, and
mm,
that can be in any sense. They might be on the bus and they don't want to be on the bus because they can feel all the energy around
mm.
them, or they're at work and they don't want to be at work because of the energies they can feel around them. What advice would you give to young people to strengthen their own field so
Mm,
they're not so vulnerable to the energies outside of themselves?
mm. That's an excellent. You raised a number of excellent points. One of them is constantly being aware of your mind.
Mm,
And we have a scroll by the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Zio Parnababianun, called The Mind,
mm,
because that's the mechanism by which you use to think and to make decisions.
mm,
And most people don't spend the time being aware of their thoughts. And like you say, constantly being like in like just in that zone of thinking about their thoughts. And some people think their thoughts are their thoughts when actually their thoughts are not their
you're
thoughts.
noticing them
Yeah,
going off.
because thoughts are also energy, vibration. They move, they travel, they have a weight. And so if you're not constantly in that state of awareness of your mind and your thoughts, then your mind can be invaded by other
Mm,
people's thoughts. This is where advertising and marketing and things like that come in, because they can send messages to your subconscious mind. Because you remember, you have your conscious mind, you have your subconscious mind.
yeah, I often hear your frequency is what you frequently see.
There you go. Your frequency is what you frequently see. And that's what I mean. Like, so if you're on the bus, going by the, example you gave, not only are you amongst a number of people with all types of energy and all types of thoughts that people are having that are traveling within that space you're in,
Mm,
but as you say, there's your eyes, and you have a third eye. You have these eyes, the physical eyes, and you have an eye that is also constantly recording. These physical eyes are easily distracted by what you see around you, the noises that you're hearing,
mm,
which relate to your senses, what they call your five senses, right? Which is what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you taste, and what you're hearing, what you're touching.
mm,
So even like going into that bus, there's just so much coming at you. The adverts on the bus, they have the
yeah.
screens, the people, the different energies of the people, even what you touch, there might be like viruses.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? There's just so much going on. So mentally, someone has to be like aware of all this that's going around. That's just on the bus.
mm,
Not when you go outside of the bus where there are even more people on the
yeah.
street, or wherever, like you go to an establishment, and then the planet, and just like the people that, as I said, advertising, they use marketing to send messages, subliminal messages at that as well. A really good film that I always recommend for people to watch is They Live.
Mm,
Now, They Live it's been remade a few times, but it's the movie where you have to wear these glasses to see what's really going on around you. And when people wear the glasses, they see things for what they really are, like what the messages on the billboards are
I've
really
seen
saying.
edits of this movie,
Yeah,
and like shopkeepers are actually robots and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
no, I've seen
Right.
stuff like that.
So you can do that
Yeah.
without the glasses in the sense where once your real eyes, when you start to use your real eye, not these eyes, and you start to realize
Mm.
that the world around you and things are happening, you have to be constantly aware of everyone, everything, and your thoughts, so that you can be able to like process them without being overwhelmed. A lot of us, those people who are empaths, you can pick up negative energy. Like
Definitely.
we talk about, I mentioned those five
Mm.
supposedly senses, but you have your higher senses, which are telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, and psychometry.
Mm.
This is when you're that type of a being and you're in tune with those higher senses, then that you will feel people's pain. You will feel people's worries and
Mm.
fears and cries, and sometimes it can be overwhelming because you would like to help them and do something about it. But sometimes you can only do so much because fear is one of those things that no matter how much you tell someone, don't be afraid, it's really down to them, because something that you might not be afraid of to someone else, it's a phobia.
Spiders.
I was just going to say that. It's like mental communication. I'm literally going to say spiders. So you can say to someone, don't be afraid of a spider. It's only a spider. It's not going to do anything. But that person's going to freak out if
Yeah.
they've got a phobia for spiders. And you can translate that to anything else, just like someone looking at you funny. For someone else, that might be like, it can turn into
For a lot
something.
of young people on the road, even speaking for myself,
Yeah,
that creates a lot of altercations, and a lot of
exactly.
the time it is skinfolk and kinfolk.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make eye contact with, unfortunately, a young white man on the street and feel any type of way.
Mm.
But when I'm outside and I see one of my brothers, I don't even want to say bad eyeing me, but just
Yeah.
staring in my face, it's
Mm.
like, wagwan.
Mm.
But why is that the
Yeah.
natural reaction? I try to take myself out of that because it's funny when I'm in that center seat in my mind and
Mm.
I am just aware and observing, and I catch myself in those moments. Instead of fixing up my face or stepping to someone, it's
Mm.
just,
Yeah.
and
I
the
mean,
smile you get back is it's crazy. It's
yeah.
like people forget black boys can smile. Like,
Oh man, I think we should use that line. Like literally, people just smiling um can avoid so much because we've been kind of like programmed
Mm.
to think,
It's life or death.
yeah, like we're different.
Mm.
And back home, if you go back, like our nature anyway, as Nagara Nadu, or we say Negroids, um, it's a loving, caring one. Like if you go back home and you're in like in the Caribbeans or Africa or places where first of all there's some sun, the sun brings a smile to your
Yeah.
face. Because I notice even in the UK, like during summertime, people are a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
And no
mean?
one even likes the sun out here. It's just humid, but
Yeah,
there's warmth.
there's
Like,
warmth. So naturally, when we pass each other, we will say, "What's happening?" You know,
mm.
you know that even that black man nod that everyone talks
Yeah.
about. It's just like an acknowledgement, like, bro, I know how you're coping and feeling with
Yeah.
whatever's going on, but the tribalism, we are people that are really from different tribes,
Mm.
and that they know, when I say they, I'm talking about people that don't really relate to us
Mm.
and don't really understand or overstand us.
Mm.
They don't understand the dynamics, and so they will put different people in a particular place together, different tribes, different energies, different people that are gonna repel, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
Mm.
So you're right, like you shouldn't be feeling intimidated meeting or seeing someone that you're supposed to be able to relate to. And
Mm.
scientists will tell you that it takes more muscles to frown than to smile. And a smile can go such a long way, because what that means is, okay, we ain't got no beef.
Mm.
And if I don't even know why they use beef, because that goes into animal nature and animal behavior. It's just what people are doing, because you have a reptilian nature within you as well, the animal nature, which is really a mechanism for you to use when you need to defend yourself or whatever. But it's not supposed to be something where you walk around with a frown all the time. And people will unalive each other over you looking at me funny, or you stepped on my trainers, or something so like something that could easily be resolved with, I'm sorry, bro, wasn't intentional.
And
But
that's been the case so many
yeah,
times.
the ego steps in, the energy in motion, because again, ego is energy on the
Emotion.
go. So emotions, energy in motion, ego's energy on the go. So that ego comes in, and it's like, nah, man, that's a disrespect. Now you got to try and defend something as simple as, you know what I mean? Like one time, it happened to me, right? A situation where, and it's a good example of being on your center. I'm going to give you. I saw someone, and this person looked like a family member, or even like either a family member or like a long distant cousin or someone I
You felt
know's
like you knew them.
child. I felt like I knew them,
Mm.
but I wasn't sure because like you don't want to approach someone, and
Yeah.
so I was kind of looking at them like,
Like,
and
do I know
I hadn't
you?
seen him for a long
Yeah.
time. So I was looking at this brother, looked just like the person, but I was like, let me just make sure. As soon as I was looking, the brother was like, "What's up?" Like, what's like, and then he was like, before I could even say anything, he was stepping to me, and he was like, it just went from 0 to 100 in negativity, talking about what he wants to do me, and he's just come out from jail, and he was just like, and I'm thinking to myself, and he was just like, so he was literally there to me, yeah. I'm gonna do this, come around the corner, all the negative things you could think about. But I was so in my center, right? I had a brethren with me, but he didn't even know that I had people with me because the people were behind me and they were just like quiet. They were the same as me, just centered. We didn't do anything. It was just that I was just there, and it was going on and on and on. But for some reason, he couldn't. It's like he couldn't
You couldn't
touch
step
me. He
past.
couldn't step past because there was like a shield around me because I was of my center, and like I guess I had some psychic defense or something. But it was very interesting because in my mind, I was just like, talk is talk, innit? I'm just waiting for the moment when your hand touches me or something, because that will mean that you've now basically started it. And with Wu-Sabat, we don't teach to turn the other cheek. Like we will defend ourselves if we need to. But the reality was that no matter what he said or did, with all the grr, he was like, he didn't even put his finger on me. And after a while, he just walked away. And then I kind of just left it. But that's a good example of what we're saying, that I could have been reactive, and then straight away we would have been into it. And one of us could have probably lost their life. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same when young people, relating it to the young people now, why we as, elders try to share and pass on certain wisdom and experience. A
Definitely.
lot of young people are not receptive because,
People want to learn things firsthand. I'm not
yeah,
gonna lie. If you can't hear, you must feel was a saying that is definitely necessary in this life. I think a lot of young people will hear things or see things from their family or friends or older relatives and be like, no, man, that happened in your generation. Let me do the same thing in my generation
yeah,
and see if it turns out a different way. And when it turns out the same way, they know not to do it, but it's, I learned off my own back.
yeah.
And it is a bad mentality that we as young
And it's
people
both
have.
for the adults as well that don't listen to the younger generation because they don't realize that they've grown up differently and it's a different world we're living in, and they know certain things that we can share. But the point I was going to make in terms of young people, for example, when they get stopped by the police and they forget that the police are already programmed to think that you're an enemy and you're already carrying maybe weapons or whatever. So before even approaching you, they already,
On go.
yeah, they've got preconceptions. The young people who then are not in check with their emotions, they react. and they start getting, a little bit
Rowdy.
hyper. Yeah. Whereas if you're just calm, and I'm not saying it's going to work in every situation, but more than likely, if you're calm, respectful, cooperate, especially if you know you're not guilty of anything and you're innocent, then, you might get a different response to if you straight away, why are you stopping me? And then they're going like, okay, now you're already giving them
You're
the,
on the defensive. Why
yeah,
are you on the
why are you on the
defensive?
defensive? Yeah. So, yeah. So for young people, that's what we would say. Like, yeah, try to remember that you're mine. And I know when you're young, 'cause I was one younger, and yeah. So sometimes you leave people to feel they have to learn through their own experience. But
Definitely.
at the same time, why not avoid?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? When somebody has been through it already and they've got like that, they can give you some good advice to say, you know what? And the thing is, every generation does the same thing. If you do this, this is going to be the outcome. And they will say, no, no, no. They do it and they get the same outcome. So it's actually quite interesting. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think in terms of the story time that you just touched on,
Mm,
I feel like for young people, you're definitely right. It is, I don't even want to say harder to stay in that center seat,
mm,
but from my own experience, I feel like for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
mm,
training yourself to be in that center seat and having that time where you may have meditated or just spent more time being centered,
mm,
you're able to stay in that space and that mindset
mm,
in any type of environment or situation, internally or externally. But I feel like for younger people who may not have trained that center seat in their mind, it is a lot harder. Even for myself,
mm,
I believe I am someone that does try my best to stay in that center seat and train that center seat.
mm,
But when I do find myself in altercations like that, it just feel like time stops. And on the right side, it's the emotional rah 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 rah. Why is he talking to you like that? On the
mm,
left side, it's logic says no one's touched you. You can walk away from this,
mm.
but your pride's hurt, and
Mm.
it's that back and forth. But
Yeah.
because I'm in the center, I'm just watching it, and then until something happens where the balance is shifted,
Mm,
now I'm the balance is shifted and I'm acting emotionally. The balance is shifted and I'm acting logically. But for me personally, until that balance is shifted, I don't know which way to go. I know the logic
mm,
in most case would be the right way to go
mm.
because you don't need to act out of emotion
Yeah.
for a
And
lot of
that's
things.
emotions is one of energy in motion is one of the things that in Wu-Sabat as well,
Mm,
because we know there are other entities
mm,
that you may not see, they can then, we call them walk-ins. They can walk into you. It only takes 3 seconds when you're shifting to that state of moving from the center to the negative.
mm,
They feed off of that energy and they will walk into you. And now they're utilizing your vessel. And then if they like that negative energy, which is what they're going to feed off of, then that's what happens. That the person then becomes the aggressor. That whole situation escalates into something. It might even get to a point where you then have to hear their voices in your head because you hear voices in your head anyway all the time.
mm.
And yeah, do him something, or do you know what I mean? Like, and then before you know it, you the physical vessel does the damage, whatever. The walking steps out,
Mm.
gone about their business to the next victim, and now you're left with the situation,
Just
and you're
those
like,
moments, and it's like I blacked out.
I blacked out. What happened? And I heard a voice told me to do it. Now, when you're in front of the judge,
What are you talking about? A voice told you to.
right?
Let's hear it
the,
now.
the judge the judge is not gonna. There's no evidence.
Yeah.
Now you're there. There's CCTV, whatever witnesses that said you did it, and then you end up going to jail.
Mm,
And then when you get there now, you're now in a different situation because you've got different types of energy, and then that can change your life forever.
definitely.
And you can then become a product of the system where you're reoffending. And so, it's like getting control of your mind, because your mind is what's gonna, like, even in superhero movies, like what's that? What's the one with the different, with Magneto and that,
X-Men.
X-Men. X, of course, is a problem. We can go into that, but the
Professor Xavier.
yeah,
Yeah, the one in the wheelchair.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the most powerful gift, or his power, is his mind. That's what I'm saying. Like, the mind is so powerful that people use it for what they call negotiations. You can get anything you want just knowing how to, do you know what I mean, change somebody's mind. And so somebody could have a gun, a knife, whatever, and you just change their mind, put it away.
It's funny
And
because
it's that simple.
yeah,
But
even the books people read, like younger people are reading to get into business, the art of gaslighting, how to be a master manipulator. And it's not you're trying to control people, it's just knowing how to use your words to
to your
get into
advantage.
certain buildings or, like you said, to your
Locks, yeah.
advantage. But one thing I did want to touch on that you said before it goes out of my mind,
Mm.
aside from the five senses that we're all aware of, touch, taste, smell, there were another four that you said.
Yeah.
And there were three that I was slightly aware of, and there was one that I wasn't. It was, you said telepathy, intuition,
Clairvoyance
clairvoyance.
and psychometry.
Psychometry is probably the one that I've heard the least about.
Okay.
Could you touch on that one a bit?
Yeah, yeah. So psychometry is object reading, the ability to pick up and read information from objects. A good example of,
Like tarot cards.
no, well, that, yeah, to a certain degree, but that you're kind of dealing with the visuals and stuff as well.
Okay.
A good example for psychometry is when, like, you ever see like shows, like detective shows, and people trying to solve crimes,
Oh yeah,
and there may be like a piece of cloth or
that's like
something that was
misplaced and
misplaced, or
okay.
they find in the crime scene, and someone's able to touch that cloth and pick up information
I'm
and
just thinking of
images.
That's
And
So Raven. Like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So psychometry is not just in the crime scene, but like someone can leave something, a ring or any item, and you're able to touch it or pick up energy and information from it.
Yeah.
Because something people fail to realize is that everything also absorbs energy and records energy. So like, you are literally a walking, talking recorder of yourself. Like, your eyes are literally solar panels. As we move from the lower vibrations to the higher vibrations in terms of ether and dealing with you know like the lowest forms of vibration or energy is like electric, but as you move up, all the way to like atomic, and they're different. Like, if you look at the spectrum, so objects will absorb different frequencies and different energy that is recorded in them. So like I was saying, you yourself, your eyes will record everything you see. You have a matrix, in other words, which is really digital. And that, everything you touch, everything you see, everything you think of, everything you do is recorded in your matrix, which is information. This is why even now, like what we call the information age or the internet, it's kind of like, they say you're browsing the web. Everywhere you go, everything you see, everything you click on, everything that you spend a lot of time on, it's all recorded, and
Your
they call
digital
it your
footprint.
digital footprint.
Yeah.
You have the same in real life. And so, you can wear this, I can wear my jacket, put it down, but I've left a lot of me in that jacket. And someone who can object read can pick up a lot from me just by,
I
yeah,
think
using
like
psychometry.
that that's just taken me to like music and jewelry, because I feel like jewelry, especially in terms of an easy one, would be crystals.
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
know that crystals hold a lot of energy, but I feel like even for me, when it comes to my ankh necklaces or any of my beaded necklaces,
Mm.
I don't like anyone else wearing them, and I don't want to borrow anyone else's necklace because to me, your chain
Yeah.
holds so much energy. But in terms of music, I feel like records, for example,
Mm.
people that buy and own records and vinyls, when someone passes and it comes to their will
Mm.
and they passed on their vinyls or their records, when you get those, you feel the love that someone held
Mm.
in that.
Mm-hmm.
They they treasured these vinyls and you can feel that.
Yeah.
Or when it comes to guitars or just
Mm.
any instrument, I feel like you can hear when someone's playing the guitar and you'll often hear a lot of people say, yeah, no, that guitar has a lot of love or
Mm.
it's been loved.
Yeah.
To listen to someone play an instrument and to feel that instrument's been loved,
Mm.
I feel like that's a show of being able to know energy is
That's right.
carried
Yeah,
through
you're right.
anything and
And
everything.
like you say, this goes to even things like charity shops or picking things up off the street, and you don't know whose energy you're taking on board. And it's important that you can pick up something that can bring you bad luck, or well, we don't really believe or use luck, but like just bring negative energy
Mm,
around you, and things are happening and you don't know why. So even when people maybe like burgle or rob things from people, they don't realize, even though they may get away with whatever the item is,
mm,
that energy can still have a massive effect on them. So when you crystals was a good example you used. With crystals, you can actually cleanse them.
mm,
Like you can put them in salty water and cleanse them and make it your own. Even like in ancient times, our ancestors, like Europeans, used to, if they still do it, you can watch a movie Tomb Raider, because that's what they're talking about, raiding the tombs
mm,
of our ancestors and taking even the mummies and crushing the bones and digesting them, because they wanted something known as eternal life or the elixir of life. And when you take on other people's like energy, first of all, the mummification in ancient Egypt had, talismans and certain incantations that meant that if you came in there to steal the jewelry or to steal anything from the sarcophagus, then a spell will be on you. Even the movie The Titanic
mm.
goes into that. They were saying that, you know, that was based on the curse that made sure that the people didn't get away with it. You'll have to go and do a bit of research on that. But you're right that when you take on, that's why some people say they don't wear people old clothes or they don't wear people's clothes,
Mm,
because you don't know what energy you're transferring to yourself. Or
definitely.
even things like women wearing weaves,
Mm.
which goes into
Oh man, don't get me started.
touch a sore sore spot of that. But the reality is, when you research, I'm talking about the real hair.
Yeah,
There's this thing amongst females where
it's
they
horsehair. No, it's Mexican hair.
yeah,
No, it's
it's you know what I mean, and they spend more money to take hair that, say
oh,
for example in India, a lot of people do rituals
mm,
to shave off their hair to get because of to get rid of certain negativity and whatever, and then our sisters who don't know any better
mm.
would want to buy that real hair, spend so much money on it to put it on their head and get that negativity and that energy. And then, and I'm not just, it's not, an attack on the sisters,
Definitely not.
but, even brothers are doing that now. Do you know what I mean? I've seen videos with people that, yeah,
Oh
I
man.
put in, they're bored or whatever, and they're going to put this false hair
Yeah,
on
people
themselves.
put like
But it's
powder
all
in their
about
hair.
the energy and what you're taking on.
Definitely.
But like you also said, there is a positive side to it where, like you say, like your grandma might have been a really nice person and they
Mm.
leave you their wedding ring because their marriage was a success and the being that they were, and
The
now
love in that ring never dies.
there you go. And then it passes on to you now, and you get married, and you find that your life is, do you know what I mean,
Yeah.
calm as well. So And the vinyl is definitely one, because vinyl, as opposed to digital, when you're dealing with analog, you touch on about the music instruments as well. Because I'm a musician myself, and the master teacher has taught us how they had to eradicate a lot of the live instrument and live music, because a lot of that was dealing with natural vibrations, natural tones. And when you digitize something, you lose a lot of the essence. Like with the records, again, the vinyl records had a warmth, and they could actually
Yeah.
record, do you know what I mean? That energy on them. And the digital, like, even now, people don't even really use CDs. It's all downloads now. You don't know what you're downloading, because they tell you, some of these artists, they get involved. The music industry itself is crazy,
Crazy.
because you're invoking certain entities and vibrations that go into the music and certain rituals, and then you download it. You download it to yourself, put the headphones on, and literally your head is like, if you ever see how a microwave works, because what you do is you take meat or food or whatever, you put it inside this box, and then the lasers, right? When you put on, you know, how long you want it for, the lasers then provide heat to the meat to get the atoms and the molecules vibrating, which is the what you call friction, right? To make it heat up, and then you kill off all the nutrients, and then you eat it with no nutrients, which is like you've just taken something that was good for you, healthy and alive, and killed it, and then put it into yourself. This is why we say don't eat dead stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the energy and the vibration. Like,
Life breeds life.
life breeds life, and the blood of the animals, the, you know, the spirits in the blood. So when you're digesting that or intaking it, it's in your matrix and it's in your system. So you find people who eat meat are more aggressive. They you know, they tell you that a lot of boxers or people that need aggression, they feed that negative reptilian nature, as opposed to the more Natharu or our ancestors who are agreeable nature. And this is where we're saying that you do have both sides of agreeable and disagreeable, but you can be predominantly one or the other. And then, if nothing else, be in the center, be, you know what I mean, know that you have that agreeable, know you have that disagreeable, which ties into the reptilian brain, but know that if you need it and it's necessary to protect yourself, it's there. But you should really be living predominantly on that center and that positive
I
vibration.
think a lot of us struggle to do that, especially younger people and older people, just a lot of us in general, because there are sides of ourselves we don't want to admit that we actually have. I think for myself, that is getting angry. When I was younger, my anger was a very, very difficult thing for me to deal with. And I think a way that I tried to navigate it before was just ignoring the fact that I got angry. But that doesn't do anything when I'm actually angry.
Yeah. But being angry, right? Again, this is another thing. Like, one who has mastered both sides can appear angry on the outside, but internally they're not angry at all, right? So, for example, in order to be assertive to someone, it may be your child or someone that you want to convey that message, you can be assertive, which to them might appear like you're out of control or losing control, but no, you want that. Let's say if you were speaking to your child and you want them to, you know, that fear that they have of their parents, it's not really fear, it's a respect. It's like, you know, like, for some parents, they just need to walk in the house or give you a look and you fix up because you have that reverence for them, as opposed to a fear where it's like you're scared of them because they're going to abuse you or whatever. So I'm saying that to say that when it comes to the with anger, it's really about going back to the energy. How do you channel energy? Because, like I said, energy can be received, it can be enhanced, it can be nurtured, and it can be sent out to somebody else. So it's about, okay, we're not saying don't be angry, but how do you control it? How do you channel it? This is where maybe doing martial arts or
That's what it is now.
something else, go and exercise where you're going to be turning negative into positive. You know, like you ever hear when people are getting angry and they go, look, we'll go out for a walk, or let me go and go in nature, or let me go and exercise, go to the gym,
Definitely.
listen to some positive music, and it will just change your vibration.
That's where I'm at now. I think
Meditate, you know, so many things you can do.
the mentality I have now is the main things I'm trying to achieve this year or improve are my self-discipline
Mm,
and my willingness to do stuff. I think at the end of the day, the biggest battle I'm always going to have is the battle against myself and my
mm,
own mind, and having that self-discipline to get up and go to work when I don't want to go to work and just calling sick.
mm,
Always
yeah,
just having that go and get it mentality or go and do it mentality. I think it will be very beneficial. So just speaking to one of my friends recently, I've been speaking to him about going to Muay Thai and
mm,
just doing one-to-one training sessions or like group training sessions, like just
yeah,
me, him, and a trainer. But he said, or what I was gauging from the conversation is that a lot of people want to do some of these martial arts more to
bruck
to
a
knock
man up.
someone out in one
Yeah,
punch. And I was just like, nah, bro. For me, it's just
yeah,
self-discipline. And at the end of the day, I know I can protect myself,
mm,
but that's cool. Now, a step further than that, I know I'm not stopping myself and I'm not
mm,
holding myself back from the things that I actually want to and can achieve. I just don't have the willingness or drive to achieve it.
mm. I mean, again, how old are you again?
18.
Wow, like that's one of the things that really fascinated me with wanting to have a conversation with you, because it's not really about the number in terms of the age, is that because you can have young people that are wiser than, you know what I mean, people that have been on the planet a lot longer. But that kind of like I say, if you could reach out to more people your age with that type of energy, because as we teach in Wu-Sabat, you have knowledge and you have right knowledge. You have wisdom, you have right wisdom. You have understanding, and you have right understanding. So it's about going from knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because having knowledge, everyone can have knowledge, but it's the right type of knowledge. And if there's wrong knowledge, then there's right knowledge. And so we go from right knowledge, right wisdom to right understanding. Once you kind of like master that, then you start to reason better. So we go to sound, right sound reasoning, because you're now using your mind to reason things out. And you can reason, when you reason things out, this is what we say about time and you being a multi-dimensional being. Mentally, when you're using your mind, and unfortunately for a lot of people on the planet right now, they're using less than 10% of their brain. So you don't even have full potential of your mind. So using the most of it to rationalize things. And when we say you can time travel, you can literally sit here and think about the endless possibilities of, if I took this action and go down this road, and you can literally see it, like you're in a situation where there's an altercation, you can go, I can punch them in the face, or I can do this, or I can do that. You walk, okay, if I did that, this was going to
How,
happen.
yeah.
What's the outcome? So you can do that multiple times in all different scenarios. And if it was a movie, it'd be great, because you can actually go down there and come back and go down the other routes, and you can literally have so many routes you go
But
down,
in reality, you're still here.
but in reality, you're still there. And you have to then go, okay, I've actually been there. I've saw the future. I've saw the outcome of everything if I went down that particular road. But now you have to reason it out and say, well, which is the one that makes the most sense and which one should I take? And sometimes you might be like, if I did that, let's say you have a child or a mate or girlfriend or a mother or, some family member that rely on you. Okay, if I go jail, what's going to happen to them? If I get unalive, what's going to happen to them? You go through all of these scenarios and think, what's the most important Is it this,
Mm.
this, I don't know what to call them, like, or shall I just think about my little child or my mum or my dad or someone who,
My dependent.
yeah, relies on me? So then you take it away from you being selfish, me, myself, and I. And this is what, again, Wu-Sabat does, is because it's like we look at the future, we look at humanity, we look at how do
Next
we
generation.
solve the problems for everyone, as opposed to my ego and my belief is more important, that makes me think that I'm better than everyone else. I'm right and everybody else is wrong. And the thing is, if you then come across us, you get humbled, because it's like all the things you thought you knew, even ourselves, we're constantly learning.
Mm.
Even this conversation, the vibration of it, it's been completely different to all the
Definitely.
ones we've had in the past. And that's because of where our energies are at. And yeah, we want to be able to reach more young people,
Mm.
because, and the females as well, because really, once you tap into the real you,
Mm.
because what happens is that the system you're brought up in and things that you're taught from an early age, going back to nursery or kindergarten, and it's all programming. So by the time you're 18, which they consider an adult in this Western world,
No.
it's like you're already like been taken down the wrong path. You don't know who you are really, as in your, like I said, multidimensional being. You don't know about your ancestors.
Mm.
You don't know about life after death. You don't know what you should be doing. And literally you're being programmed to be a slave in the
It's
system.
funny. That's how I felt throughout the whole of my education process. Aside from me going to a creative art school and actually being able to, and that's a blessing for me, to
Channel, yeah.
be able to get in there. But being in there and knowing, okay, this is actually what I want to do. My time in education before this, it just felt like I was being force fed
Mm.
knowledge that was,
To you, useless.
yeah, like there was a lot of things that I just didn't feel like were necessary. And in my mind, it's the emotional maturity skills or the just self development skills that I would need, or outside of myself, knowing
Yeah.
how to pay taxes or file for a tax return.
Mm, mm,
I'm not learning that in school. And unfortunately, in our community, a lot of our parents aren't teaching us those skills. So
mm,
we are still a step behind of the rest of the herd
mm,
because we're not learning it at school. And then when we get home, we're not learning it at home.
mm,
So we're learning how to pay taxes and how to
mm.
properly save and how to, I don't know, file for a mortgage
Yeah.
in our 20s or late 30s, when these are skills that our counterparts are
Mm.
learning
You're right.
very,
Even
very young.
adults don't have financial literacy, because just the basics of going into this world, this matrix, this system as a young adult, and knowing how to plan yourself to be successful in life. It's not the goal, because when education, unfortunately, you have to look at systems that are put in place. And when we say education, we're saying edited diction, because it's a system.
Mad.
It's you know what I mean? It's like, it's a system where you have people that say this is the curriculum.
Mm.
That we're going to go down this path. We're going to teach you this, teach you that, teach you this. But ironically or coincidentally, leave out all the things that matter to you or that is
That
important
will
to you,
actually help
that
you.
will actually help you, because it's by design for you to come out and work and be a slave in the system.
Mm.
So you don't learn about entrepreneurship. You don't learn about, as you say, financial literacy. You don't learn a lot of things to do with how you can be financially stable. See, most people in life, they're like three main things that you've kind of got to master. The first one is, like you say, education, right? So most people get some form of education, whether it's secondary, primary,
University.
university, right? So that most people will achieve that.
Mm.
The second one is career, having to go and get a job and work and earn money, right? And most people will achieve that in some way, shape, or form, regardless of whether you're earning less or really high wages. The third one, which I would say 95% of people never achieve or fail, is financial freedom. Yeah. So why don't most people attain financial freedom? Because you don't get taught about money and, like I said, like financial literacy. And so, yes, in terms of living in this Western world, it's all great to be creative. It's great to be spiritual. But let me see you be hungry and try and eat a spiritual sandwich. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't put a plate in front of you, pray all day long, meditate all day long for food to appear on that plate. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So
nothing
there's a
reminds me of an
level of
image.
balance in terms of, one of the best sayings that the master teacher gives us is like, the helping hand that you're looking for is at the end of your own arm. So you have to get up and do something to get that food or whatever you need. So yeah, we deal with the unseen world and the spirituality and your soul and its journey, but we're also very practical. We know that to build, you need to generate wealth more so than money. See, without the right education or knowledge, you think it's money, but you can have all the money in the world, but it doesn't give you any power.
Yeah, I think.
So you can't make any changes, you can't do certain things. So a lot of these, going back to the music industry, a lot of people get bamboozled by the fame and fortune and the bright lights and the shiny things, the jewelry and the cars, but they don't really have any knowledge of self. They don't have any power where they can make changes. So you just end up getting to a point where you've accumulated so much material things, but you still don't know about your true essence or
Like
what
you're
your
left in
purpose is.
emotional debt,
Yeah.
and it's really weird. And I think touching on what you said, being wealthy, I think a mindset and ideology I'm beginning to develop and see is how wealthy I actually am.
Mm,
Like this weekend, for example, the past weekend, it was my uncle's 50th, and my girlfriend came over to like celebrate with the family.
mm,
But when I was there, I was like, "Raw, got my girlfriend here, got my family here, I'm spending time with everyone." And yeah, it feels like I'm not able to spend enough time with my girlfriend. I'm not able to spend
yeah.
enough time, but everyone's here.
Mm.
Like
Quality time.
I've got it here, and I
Yeah.
think it's that wealth that I don't see. Being able to play games with my little cousin whilst I'm
Mm,
talking to my girlfriend and my brother
mm,
about serious life topics.
mm,
It's it's more emotional and it's more felt than it is seen in a
mm.
bank account.
Right.
And it's that kind of wealth that
Funny, you don't even see it in the bank account. All you see is numbers on the screen. So this brings us to tangible things, and things that, like Luther Vandross sang the song, "The best things in life are free," and people take that for granted so much. So even when you're just engaging with somebody, having a conversation, and you're in the moment, you're living in the now, and so like we say, like, would you value more? And we did a video recently called "How to Achieve Success" or something like that. We'll put it in the link, because it depends on your definition of success,
I was just
your
about to ask you
definition
about
of
that.
what wealth is. Because some will say, "My health is my wealth," which is actually more valuable, because if you have all the money in the world but your health is bad, you can't even enjoy anything.
You're
You're
just passing that on to your next generation.
right. And you can have the best health with no money, but you're actually better off than someone else. So, and the thing with success as well is like, what do you measure success? Is it having to look at your bank account every minute and seeing you got these digits in there? Or is it spending quality time with people, you know, learning about your being, turning yourself inside out, going on, meaningful outings, going to nature? So yeah, Wu-Sabat is definitely about giving you the right outlook in life, because a lot of people get the wrong outlook in life and they think it's all about competition and material gains and look what I have and you don't have it. And, you know, then when they get to a certain point, they're they're just miserable because they haven't tapped into their potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And life is really about learning and discovering your hidden potentials and how you are part of the solution and not a part of the problem in, you know, the bigger scale scheme of things.
yeah, no, and I just think just touching on that a bit more in terms of how it is that we measure success. I feel like why it is that I want to make music, like I said, is to create change and spread a message.
Mm,
And I feel like my ideology on success can't be measured until I'm no longer here. In
mm,
my mind,
mm,
once my legacy is left behind, I can't leave a legacy whilst I'm still here in my head. It's what did you do in your time here?
mm. Right, exactly.
And
What's your purpose?
I feel like that's how I measure success. Personally, I will never be successful, and I'm not going to see my legacy when I'm gone,
Mm.
but I will never be successful until I am no longer here and my legacy transpires me and it
Mm,
goes past me and it helps generations beyond me and it
mm,
enlightens generations beyond me. That is my definition of success, but I'm
mm,
never going to see that whilst I'm here.
mm.
So it's
Well,
that
in
makes sense.
Wu-Sabat, you can see it. That's the thing. We don't teach this pie in the sky
Mm,
doctrine. Like you have to wait till you go to heaven to, do you know what I mean, get everything that, you know. And here it's just
right.
about suffering and
Yeah.
suffering. No, because one, people don't confirm what they say in religions and so on. It's funny, we've been speaking for a while and we haven't really
Yeah.
spoke about religion because it's not that relevant.
Mm,
It's relevant for when you're starting out, baby steps. You know, it's a way to get you onto moral standards if you don't have any, or discipline if you don't have any, and all these things that are universal, like treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Like you say,
mm,
like treat nature with respect, knowing that it's mother nature. Like you say, you want to impact other people's lives positively. You want to do things that, this is where again, when in the Bible and certain religious books, they talk about people that have lived for like hundreds of years. There's a literal aspect to it, but a lot of that was to do with the legacy, how long you're remembered for. You know, so people like Bob Marley, people that have left, you know, a
a
good,
stamp.
yeah, a stamp. You know, their music will live on forever.
Mm,
There's some artists that come and they're gone. They're called those one hit wonders. You don't even remember them because they didn't really impact people's lives. They may have been singing some dead lyrics or some kind of like low vibrational music. And then you have those who leave quality music behind. So yeah, I do get the point where you're saying that, but we come back to the balance thing. Like
mm,
you can enjoy your life, you can be successful here, but also did you achieve what you came here to do, your purpose? And like you say, leave a legacy where people can be like, wow, when you think of certain people, Martin Luther King,
mm.
you know, Malcolm X, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, these names are people that, you know, we can go to Noble Drew Ali, Dr. York, Dr. Malachi Z. York, who is still here now. And he's already made such a massive impact. And we're still here and it's still here to do more. And this is why, you know, our whole thing is to spread Wu-Sabat, to reach people, to get them to turn that ignition on, their real soul being their solar plexus, so that they can realize what the potential they have and what they can do and what impact they can have. So when we come together, it just builds momentum, because there are
Definitely.
lots of people in this world that want to help people. They want to help humanity, you know, and it doesn't matter what skin suit you're in, what race. It's just about, yeah, like you say, what legacy you're gonna leave behind.
I think a lot of people don't feel like they can help all those they aspire to help because they don't feel like they have enough power on their own or in
Mm,
their own voice. For myself, for example, when I tell people that I want to make change and I want to spread a message with my music, something I always hear is you can't change the whole world,
Mm,
or not everyone can hear your voice.
mm.
But
Well,
I, I don't have to talk to everyone
there. It's
to.
just enough. I mean, like Michael Jackson was known by pretty much Bob Marley, the people that I've named.
Mm,
And it's important for us to have artists that are going to counteract the negative music and the negative
definitely.
lyrics and the negative energy. This is why we're saying Wu-Sabat, there's definitely the duality in
Mm,
terms of being in this three-dimensional world. And if people don't step up and, like if they see something, that's what they say, you have to be the change you want to see.
mm.
If you see something that's not right and you don't do anything about it, then you're just
You're a
as
part of the problem.
we're part of the problem. So it's either you're going to be a part of the solution or you're going to be a part of the problem.
Mm,
So we need artists to kind of recreate and show tell our story. The music that expresses what we want to express.
mm.
Imagine if there weren't any positive, conscious artists on the planet. You'd have to be just left to deal with,
I'd just be listening to frequencies, like
yeah.
no
And
lyrics.
so there has to be that balance in everything.
Yeah.
And just because you're going through something which you may consider to be suffering or negative doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is, because there may be a bigger lesson
Mm,
that you have to go through that to achieve. And so, again, people talk about suffering. Again, this is mainly religious people. And it's a matter of perspective. Do you see as the glass is half empty or is it half
half
full?
full.
Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's all about how you view things. And so I don't look at things like suffering. There's suffered, suffering. So there's like a past tense, present tense, and future tense. You
Mm,
have to like remember, okay, the past, what you're calling the past, was experiences that you went through to be where you are today.
now,
And
yeah.
what you do now is going to have an impact on what they call the future.
Yeah, no, I think just listening to how people respond to when things happen to them.
Mm,
I think a lot of people, or I've come across a lot of people that have the mentality of why is this happening to me?
mm.
Not what is this doing for me?
Yeah,
Or what can I
exactly.
learn from this?
Yeah.
And I think just having that awareness of your thoughts, you're able to make that change in your thought patterns,
Mm,
and making that change, you make that change in the actions you make. Mentality I try to keep in
mm,
my mind when I'm making music is how you think is how you feel. How you feel becomes an emotion. That emotion becomes a frequency, and that frequency becomes a magnet that
mm.
attracts things to you, vibrating on that
Absolutely.
same frequency.
100%. I couldn't have said it better.
And when I'm making music, I try to keep that in mind, because if I'm that voice and that frequency that people are choosing to tune into,
Mm,
I need to be conscious of what it is, of the message that I'm
project.
passing on.
Yeah. This is why this might shock a lot of people. Look in the mirror. You are the God and the devil at the same time. Yeah. Because religions conveniently make the devil responsible for all the bad stuff,
Mm,
and then so-called God all the good stuff. But then they contradict themselves by saying that God knows everything and created everything. So why would he have created the
the devil.
devil and allows the devil to do all the devilishment that he does on the planet? That just brings you to realizing that you're that being that has the both sides and the both natures, and any outcome is determined by you.
Mm,
You might say, yeah, but I'm in a situation where others might have an influence on me, but you can also revert that by just changing the environment, your circumstances, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
definitely.
Aligning with people that are gonna help propel and elevate you in the way you want to go. Or you can align yourself with, what people may consider like losers going in the wrong direction and want to cause the problems in the world. So it's really down to you. And that responsibility that you have to take is where people they shy away from,
Yeah.
because when you realize, what, you are just as responsible for the good that happens to you as you are the bad that happens to you. Bad and good is subjective, obviously, but
Mm,
then you start to realize, you know what? Are you in control? And all you have to do, the one thing that anyone on the planet who's claiming to be righteous or smart or whatever will agree on is this. They all agree that you can achieve whatever you put your mind to it. Even just motivational speakers will tell you that. Everyone agrees unanimously that you can change your mind and you can start again. Every day is a new opportunity to start again. And so people that are watching and listening to this, never think of yourself so low that, you can't go up or further. Never think of yourself so high that there's nothing left to achieve. So you're always in that state of development and knowing that, do you know what I mean, you're a work in progress and you're working to perfect yourself.
Yeah, man. The man who thinks he knows everything knows nothing. And I think
100%.
there's an artist that I've been listening to recently, and when he started, he done he made a song recently, and at the start of the song, he said the greatest day of my life is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that one it just hit home. It's
Yeah.
like everything I'm learning today is to beat the task of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's how I took it personally. But I just think
Yeah.
having that mentality, that go get it mentality, no matter what, nothing's stopping me. You will achieve whatever it is that you set out to achieve.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people say when they're on TikTok or when they're on Instagram and they see people doing things that they would want to do, a comment they will leave is a good choice of free will. We all have that free will.
Yeah.
It is just
In,
how we
in, in
choose to
that
use it.
regard, yes. But in Wu-Sabat, we say you're living in the now. Now is what exists in terms of, even though you say past and future, really you're saying multiple thens that have already taken place, and now you're in the now, and then there are thens to come, which when you get to those thens, they become nows, you see. So we say live in the now, because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. You know what I mean? You don't know when your last breath is going to come. That's why what you said earlier about always being mindful of your thoughts and then how those thoughts are translating into your actions and what you do, whether you're bringing joy to the environment, to people, or whether you're bringing chaos, negativity to people. So everyone has the choice to live in peace and harmony or to live in war and chaos.
Definitely.
So
I
you have
think
to
it's good to
choose.
understand both as well. I think a quote that I've come across a lot is for men especially, it's learn how to be a beast before you learn how to be calm. I feel like personally it is or it can be beneficial for men to understand what that animal they
Nature,
refer to
yeah.
is
Yeah, you have to be able
before
to
they
control that beast before.
become calm. But I
Yeah,
think doing it in the other order,
yeah.
you're now scared of that other side.
Again, this is where wrong knowledge and the programming comes in, where there is a lot of confusion with masculinity and men being taught to be like more feminine and don't really know their nature. That beast or that nature of you as a masculine, it's not to go around like you say, trying to like use your testosterone in the wrong way, beating everybody up and like, do you know what I mean? Subjugating the female or trying to be like, no, it's about you've got both male and female within you, just as the female has both female and male within them. And it's learning like, yes, you have the masculine side of you, but you also have a feminine side to you. And that feminine side is when, as a man, if you have a daughter, you know how to be, or not even just a daughter, but a child, you know how to comfort them, support them, be there, be loving, be caring, etc. But you will protect as well if any, you know what I mean, danger
Yeah.
comes to them. So you have to know, like, yeah, both sides are there. And that will go to the females,
Yeah.
the feminines in your life as well. You have to know how to be, gentle and caring and comforting. But at the same time, you also have to know that they will push your buttons. And there's a time where you have to like draw the line and be
Yeah.
the masculine, but or the masculine. So it's all about balance, and the same with the female. They have a masculine energy,
Mm.
and society with the crisscross. The name of that band was what made me laugh. I'm digressing. Where they're making feminines or females more masculine
Mm.
because they are now taking on the responsibility that men are supposed to take care
I
of
think
and
that's how.
provide. They have to work, look after, be the
Yeah.
nurturer. They'd have to do so much that sometimes they're more in their masculine energy, which is an imbalance to what they're really supposed to be. And
Yeah.
the male the same, where I see some men wearing some tight jeans, man. You're like, how did you get them on? Because
How
I
you
have to bring
how
humor
you
to some of
breathing?
this stuff.
Like,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
no.
But really, and it ties into what we call the alphabet people, which is actually ironic because Donald Trump came in and he was just like, "There's only two genders, male and female," and that was like, I mean, again, not to
The
disrespect
alphabet's funny.
anybody who may feel different, because in our doctrine we
Mm.
do go into the fact that you can be a male and have a female spirit, or female have a male spirit. We go into the biology, the science of it, but it started to get ridiculous where someone can say, "I'm a bench. I identify with being with being a dog," and then they walk around on their
Yeah, no,
hands and
stuff like
knees
that. I
like,
feel like
"Call
it's
me Lassie from now on." Come on, like there's a line where it goes a bit
yeah.
too far.
I think a big part which plays into how, as especially black people, we are presented on a lot of TV and movies
Social media. Yeah.
is just as you described it, the masculine female counterpart and the feminine male counterpart. In a lot of older movies that were made in America, it would be the man who's at home
Mm,
cooking and cleaning and doing whatever, and the woman who's coming home from work tired. And I'm not saying that's not okay to be the norm or that is a bad thing,
mm.
but
But remember, sorry, not to go on, I didn't let you
to
finish.
stereotypically, it would be seen as the other way around. It would
Reverse
be
roles, yeah.
a man coming home and a woman doing the stuff in the house, nurturing and caring for those in the house. And that's not to say men can't nurture and women can't work, but I do feel like women are better
Mm,
at nurturing than men are.
mm.
And
They are, without a doubt. And again, we know there are going to be people who are going to push back and say, "Oh, you think a woman should just be at home and all that?"
not
No,
at
no,
all.
we're not saying that. But there is an agenda,
Mm,
yeah, to feminize men, because
100%.
the whole thing about wearing dresses in Hollywood, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, where, as you said, most black actors had to go through this some sort of initiation
yeah.
to wear a dress. And I remember Dave Chappelle picking up on it, and it's like, why does everybody have to wear a dress? Because it seems like you have to be, yeah, kind of like
Less than.
subjugated and made to be less than what you really are as a masculine, you know what I mean?
And I think that's
No
definitely
energy.
done intentionally. I think for me, it is a deterrent for me to get into the acting world because what I studied was theatre. I do want to be a creative as well as an artist. I want to be an actor. But
Mm.
seeing things like that, it is a deterrent. But I feel like that is done to keep us in a state where we don't rebel or
Yeah, yeah,
use that chaos energy
yeah.
to make change. I think when men are feminized, they forget how to use their masculine to actually create change. And that doesn't have to be going out and going to war and killing. It
Mm.
can very much be logical and judicial in terms of being in the court and making
Mm.
change in court. But
Right.
I think when men are programmed in a way where we're made to be more feminine than we actually are, it's scary to step into that masculine to
Mm.
create change. And that can be in a relationship with your friend, your partner,
Mm-hmm.
or in your relationship with your oppressor. You
Mm.
don't want to take that step and make that change because you're scared to step into your masculine because you've
Yeah.
been existing in your feminine. And I think on the flip side, for women, you're scared to step into your feminine and be vulnerable because you've
Mm.
had to exist in your masculine.
Yeah.
And I think it is very upsetting that that is how the women in our community are made to feel.
Mm.
Um,
Well, this is where Wu-Sabat comes in and why
mm,
we build communities. And there's a book called um, The Sacred Feminine, The Gospel of Yanun,
mm.
which teaches both male and female from a young age all the way to
My
adults.
girlfriend's reading that now. I'm not gonna lie. She says
Okay.
it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, because literally, I know you say girlfriend a lot, but that's one of the things that is addressed in the book. But I understand why. Like, you've been programmed in this Western mentality and society to think, but someone can have used that term with a person and that
Mm,
they're steady with and in a meaningful relationship with, whereas what the Western civilization, or yeah, Western civilizations, because we are the civilizers, teaches is to have multiple boyfriends and multiple girlfriends, not understanding the exchange of fluids and energy
oh,
that comes along with that. Going back to the topic we were really addressing of how, what I mean, that changes you
mm,
because you now have multiple personalities within your matrix and your DNA from all the people that you've exchanged bodily fluids with,
yeah.
and all the people have exchanged bodily fluids with.
Yeah. You don't know why you're angry all the time, but you're having
Exactly.
sex with a lot of gang members. Like,
Eh, or why you want to call yourself killer, or you know what I mean, like a
yeah.
name that as an artist would be like, well, why do you want to call yourself that type of vibrate? Because a name is a vibration, is a tone as well, which this is why just making up any name, it's not really the way in Wu-Sabat.
It's funny because I've struggled so much to find a artist name
Mm,
for me. Like I was really stuck on Indigo Child for a point in time, just
right.
knowing what an Indigo Child is. But I was just like calling myself Indigo Child is just saying I am an Indigo Child. That isn't separating me from the rest. It's
Yeah.
just
But the thing is, again, English and the language, this is why we take on names in our culture
mm,
from our language because of the tone and the vibration. There's a video we did called The Golden Children that you should try and listen to or read, and watch if you can.
mm,
Because indigo is just a part of the rainbow, isn't it? So they're different vibration, different frequencies. And Golden Children goes into a lot of detail in terms of those special children with special powers, creativity, and ability that you have fire children as well, who kind of like, as we say, the duality where you always get caught up. If you're not sure, you might think you might be a golden child, but then be made to feel like you're a fire child because they're also in the world, in the community, in the industry, and they're similar but completely different. Yeah, so it's very interesting to kind of be aware that that's why you have to, when you come to Wu Sabat,
mm,
well, I would say, yeah, it's a must to learn the language so that you understand or understand what the vibration of that frequency that's been attributed to you does for you. You know, yeah. Sometimes people just change their name and it's like a whole new person, a whole
yeah,
vibration. You know what I mean?
it's crazy. I think just that word, overstand, understand, and innerstand.
Mm,
Those are three words that I've been gauging the language of as of recently.
mm,
I feel like there are a lot of things that I can say I understand, overstand, understand. There are a lot of things I can say I understand, and there are a lot of things that I'm currently understanding.
mm.
But to say I overstand certain things, it's still a process that I'm.
Yo, you are only 18. So, don't
And
be
for the
too hard.
viewers out there, could you give a bit more of a detailed description of what it is to understand, understand, and overstand something
Mm.
as to why it is I might not be in a position of overstanding certain things at
Yeah,
my current point in life?
absolutely. The thing is, at least you're already aware of it, that
Mm,
when you're talking and using words, words are what actually apply the spell on people. And people think spells are just like when they watch Harry Potter or something like hocus pocus. But it's that simple, that it's the words that you're using, but because incantations are done through putting certain words together.
mm,
So English is one of those tools that's been used to put people in that spell. And so when you're saying words like understanding, and even within the society, you have different vocabulary, or like law, the law system will have their own like dictionary that they use. So Black's Law, for example, if you read that, it tells you a word what it means in law. So when you're saying understanding, you're under something. So someone is standing above you and you're under it. So like this is above and this is under. So when people are saying, "Do you understand me?" they're literally asserting their authority over you
Do you
to
stand
say,
under the knowledge I'm giving you?
"Do you stand under me?" And you say, "No, I overstand." Now, over means that you're over it, or you're well. Let's go into inner standing first. So inner standing is going into yourself, like we said. You are the God that everybody's looking at and talking about, but you don't know it because your attention is being directed outwards to everyone and everything else. Now you're just looking outside when you should be looking inwards first, like you were saying, looking at yourself and having conversations with yourself, realizing that you are a multidimensional being with a radio or receiver in your head where you can receive messages from your ancestors as well as other people and external people and the personalities that may have come into your matrix through the exchange of bodily fluids, etc. So when you understand yourself, you know who you are as opposed to what you've accepted. And we've actually got an actual fact called who you are, not what you accept. Because you can accept anything. You can accept being a label that someone else has applied to you. But when you look inwards to yourself and then like really look deep, have conversations with yourself, listen to the voices, have moments of silence, meditation, that gets you into the inner standing of yourself.
Definitely.
Overstanding is actually another easy and simple way to explain it, is that you're over something. You know, like imagine you're in a relationship with someone and that person, whether male or female, either side, is giving you hell, chaos every day. And you go, you know what, this is over. And you actually stick to it. Now you're over that. You've overstood that. That is not healthy for you and you need to move on. It could be any other habit. Like, I'm not saying that your relationship's a habit,
Definitely.
but like you could be smoking, whatever, weed, alcohol. You could be oversexed, just constantly just on like, do you know what I mean? Like whatever it is that you're doing that has more control over you. So people will say, "Oh, I can give up smoking anytime I want," but then they can't. Because if you could, you would. Because if you really understand it and go, "It's not good for my health. It costs too much money," whatever it is, whatever vice it is, gambling could be one, right? When you actually
Step back.
overcome it, you're over it. So you can say, "I used to be a Muslim, Christian, Jew religion. I used to gamble. I used to drink. I used to smoke. I used to go clubbing all the time, but now I'm over it." You've
So would you say
overstood
you
the.
can, sorry to cut you
No,
off,
go on.
would you
You've
say you
over.
can overstand a religion?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. When you get to the point where you're asking questions that this God can't answer, and now I was in the show one time, and somebody goes, "But they said something like God can do everything or do anything," and I said, "No, he can't." They said, "How do you know?" I said, "I can tell you. I can literally tell you what God can't do." And then I did. God can't become less than himself. You see? So if I know that, I've already just proved to you that there's something God can't do. God can't be everywhere at the same time. He can't be here right now and be in heaven at the same time. Because this is what they try and do with Jesus. They say Jesus is God. And then you ask the question, well, who was he praying to then? When he said, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass by me." Or Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, when he was on the cross, so they say. Many examples, like where he says the Lord's Prayer, "Our Father who art in heaven." He can't be in heaven and be himself, calling on himself to come and help himself,
Yeah.
to die on the cross, to be with himself and go and sit on the right hand side of himself.
Yeah.
That's not logical. It doesn't make sense. And these are the things where once you start to see through religion. Like, why would a good God create animals to be killed and to be eaten? Drowned animals that had nothing to do with the situation in the garden with Adam and Eve. Drown people that two people that he created, Israelites and Egyptians. He just does so many things that don't make any sense. And when you confront people in religion, they will say to you, the best they can do is say they try to defend God or speak for God and say, well, maybe he did that. Like you say, you don't have willpower. They say, no, you do. God gave you willpower to choose right from wrong. Then you say, but if I choose not to believe in him, is that all right? They say no. So then I don't have will to choose by myself then. I have to choose what pleases him, or else he's going to burn me up and put me in hell. Why did he create hell in the first place? Why did he create the devil? Why can't he snap his fingers and get rid of all the problems in the world?
A lot of it is deep rooted in fear.
Yeah, when you start to go into religion, you just realize that, yeah, it's basic information before leaving earth in terms of the Bible. And Quran literally means two readings, but most people don't even know that. What are the two readings? You got to read what they call the Bible, you go read the Quran. You go read both of them, put everything together to realize that you guys are fighting against each other, but you're really one people from the same Abraham who gave you the monotheistic religions. Then you got Christians that only believe the 2,000-year-old version of Christianity and say they don't believe the Old Testament because that's the Jews, and they just fight. And it's like, the more you look into it, you realize that I'm over this. It's not making any sense. And there are people who can't be able to, because there's the fear factor again, where it's like, you only go to church because you fear going to hell. You know, you only fear God because he's going to burn you up. But when you take away that fear and you're like, he told me I'm God. Exodus
That's the
7.
first point I always come with.
Yeah.
Like,
Exodus 7:1, Psalms 82:6, John 10:34. It literally says, you are God. And you're all the children of the Most High, meaning there's a hierarchy of who's the Most High, the world, the most knowledgeable person, or whatever you're measuring against. Like, if we're all runners, who's the fastest runner? If we're all taking an exam, who got the top mark? Do you know what I mean? Like, that will be the Most High of that situation or thing. So it's really basic information that people overcomplicate until they come and Wu-Sabat just basically just dismantle it and takes you away from the spell. So yeah, you can overcome religion. You can overcome anything, but it takes time to get to that point. So a lot of people also want to they want to get everything instantaneously because they've been programmed with this fast food,
fast life.
fast life. Everything's got to be quick. But someone has taken time to acquire the knowledge and the skills and maybe the material wealth, and now you just see them with the wealth and you want it, but you're not willing to put yourself through, do you know what I mean, working to acquire it. So that fast life mentality doesn't work. So everybody wants everything instantaneously. They want instant gratification, like drive through and pick up food, and you didn't have to buy the ingredients, you didn't have to cook it and nurture with love, with no nutrients. It's just conveyor belt food. And that's what people try to apply to real life, like relationships. It's just got to happen in 2 minutes, or I'm gone, I'm going to go and get the next one. I've got all of the list on my DMs, you know what I mean? So whereas you got to get to know the person, you got to know each other, you got to know the likes and dislikes, work together, compromise. It takes time. Yeah. So yeah, there's no quick shortcut. I mean, the shortcut is Wu-Sabat because we cut away all the crap very quickly and give you the real facts. That's what a master did. He's like, look, I've been through all of these schools. I know all of this. So I'm going to take you on a long journey. What is it? I'm going to take you on a long, I can't remember the full phrase, but basically he's saying, I'm going to fast track you. A long journey on a short path. That's it. I'm going to take you on a long journey on a short path. The long journey is all this information you got to learn and accumulate, but you don't really have time to because some people will take a lifetime just to master Christianity. And they still don't know anything because they don't study the language. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying I've known people that have been in religion, Christianity, Islam, Judaism for 20, 30 years. And you ask them, what does the Bible mean? They don't know. What does this mean? They don't know. Basic stuff. So it takes a lifetime to master one. So he's like, you're going to spend all your life going down the wrong path. So I do it for you. I learn everything and I'll just give you the short version. So the long journey is all the information. The short path is how much time you've got to accumulate and assimilate all this information so that you can read one book of his and you can speak to anyone in religion and you're a higher level than them, So Wu-Sabat is very powerful and it's the future, as I keep saying. And anyone who's about love and unity and, uniting and coming together for us to really work and change this world is welcome. Yeah,
Question
so,
I
okay, you still got more questions?
Yeah, I
Okay.
say this one.
Yeah.
This is more for the more newly awakened, conscious and spiritual community.
Yeah.
I feel like, and something that definitely brought this more to my attention. I was on TikTok. I was watching someone by the name of Jay Kaizen. He's a really good TikToker that I like to watch. But he was talking about people developing a spiritual ego. A lot of people that develop their awareness and consciousness and spirituality,
Yeah.
they feel like they now have, again, an overstanding over people that aren't aware and aren't conscious of everything around them in their day-to-day life, on their own
Yeah.
thoughts and things like that. What would you say to those people to break out of that spiritual ego and to come back to a place of knowledge and love and not feeling that prideful, like you are above those who aren't aware, just to get back to a place of healing and helping and not a place of hierarchy?
It's always important to check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's always important to stay humble because everyone is learning. Even the religious world. This is what I'm saying. There are certain universal lessons like seek knowledge from cradle to grave, meaning that you're always learning. Like I've seen many situations where no matter how much you think you know, no matter how much BBL you think you got, there's always going to be someone else that comes that's got a bigger, better one. And that the master teachers, Partner Babiano and Dr. Malachi Z. York, is who we're student teachers of. And he's the best example of humbleness that I know, even though he knows everything. I mean, you listen to his recordings. Some people think, oh, when they listen to him during the schools he was taking us through, he was able to humble anyone, and not in a disrespectful way either, just literally answering their
There's more for you to
questions.
learn.
There's more for you to learn. And when people come into Wu-Sabat now, today, and they maybe go on YouTube and search his name and listen to a class he's doing on Islam or Christianity or Judaism or Masonry or science or extraterrestrials or ancient Egypt, the list goes on and on and on. And every single person that's asking him questions, he's able to answer. But he can ask you a question that you can't answer. And he does it in a loving way. This is what we say in Wu-Sabat, it's known as a shuk, divine love. And I try my best to learn what I've learned from the master, as I'm still learning from him, in how to remember to constantly be humble and to realize that you were once where the person is at now in their journey. And just because you've passed that doesn't mean that you forget how you were when you were at that stage. So you're right, it's very important because some people, like you gave the example of learning martial arts, some people miss the point. You're learning it to be disciplined, to check yourself, and not to be like, oh, I'm going to go out and beat everyone up. And it's very easy to do that in religion. And that's what religious people do. They get self-righteous because they think, because I belong to this group called Christians or Muslims or Jews or Hindus or Buddhist or whatever they are part of, as in that club, they then look at everyone else as being unrighteous, infidel, and you're a heathen and you're this, until you, who are just a normal person, goes to the church, just using common sense, and you ask the pastor or the imam or the rabbi or the reverend a question, something very simple, and they can't answer. And at that point, they turn it around on you and say, you need Jesus. You're the problem, because now they are in their ego. And instead of saying, look, I don't know, I'm going to go and check it out, which is what we do in Wu-Sabat. We say, ask us anything. But that don't mean
Know everything.
we know everything, because we're like, if you ask me something I don't know, that's great, because now I can go and research and like learn
That's
something
the
new.
fun of it.
It's
Like,
fun because now I'm like, you know what, I didn't know that. So now I can go and research and learn
and I
something
can
new.
pass that knowledge on.
Exactly. So we and we're on the winning team. That's what's beautiful, because we know a man who does know. And the man who does know is here for everyone.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for you not to know either. So we're just like, okay, we don't know. We're going to ask the master teacher and we'll get the answer to you. And more than likely, if it's something that he hasn't already put in the book or already spoken about, that's what he wants. He's waiting for someone to ask him a question that he can't answer. But he's written books on it called 360 Questions to Ask Hebrew Israelites, Israeli Church, Christians, Muslims, everyone. And he goes into detail with those answers for those questions when they can't answer them. You see, so the beauty is like always being humble and willing to learn and keep, you know what I mean? Always remember from where you come. Yeah. If you don't know where you're coming from, how are you going to know where you're going?
Yeah, the mentality I've just been keeping is be a sponge, you know.
Yeah.
Soak
That's what
everything up.
children are like.
Yeah.
Children are just, they want to soak up the knowledge.
Sometimes it's bad. You swear around a child, they're saying that swear word everywhere now, you know. But you
Yeah.
say a good thing to a child and they're preaching that message to their teacher and it's, wow, your parents are really smart, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why, again, what you say is good to know. I don't think there's been any time in any of my recordings, and that's a really good point you've made, where you hear me use profanity or vulgarity, you know, because like you say, we have to think children are also listening. So I see a lot of TikTokers or people on like social media and they're effing and blinding and using these words. I'm like, they will say, you know, being themselves, but there's a vibration and a frequency to that tone, and there are children listening.
And I think sadly enough, especially in our community, an excuse a lot of people will use is that's how I'm talking to my people. That's the language we use.
Yeah,
But the fact
it's
that
not
that
your
is how we
language.
talk to each other, it's not. And the fact that that's how we talk to each other, the effing and blinding is so natural. And I will catch myself doing it at
Yeah,
times. But
but that's what I'm saying. As long as you're monitoring and scrutinizing yourself, we're not saying we're perfect. And I've never used the word, but there's a setting and a place for
yeah,
everything. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like if you're an artist, some labels will tell you to change the content and, you know, advisory, you know, you have to
yeah,
put labels on. So things for adults are for adults, but things for children are for children. So you got to make sure that you want to reach the widest audience possible. And that's going to go, it's going to translate, you know, all generations, and good quality music can be listened to anyone.
being able
Yeah.
to code switch, innit?
Yeah.
But
Oh, code switch.
didn't even touch on that one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, the code switch is funny because, yeah, like in certain scenarios, I'm sure I saw a comedian was talking about how they change their voices, like, but it makes sense because if you're in a particular environment, a professional environment, you're gonna act and behave accordingly, isn't it? Like you can't, you know, you won't do it in church, so
Yeah,
why would you do it? So you know what I mean? It's like you have to know when to fold, and you know what I mean, like certain situations. Because but with us as, you know, Negroids, it's a bit different because we have been beaten into submission because of like certain slavery, certain things that in that situation it seems like you're switching or you're a sellout or you're, do you know what I mean? Because you speak a certain way, like, but if you're aware of what you're doing and you're using it for a purpose, then Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
if you want to get a result, an outcome, and you have to, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're in the corporate world, you're gonna behave and act a certain way, and if you're amongst your boys, you're gonna act a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's good to be able to
Differentiate the two.
differentiate, but there is a seriousness to it in terms of some people will, like you say, be like the sellout
Mm.
when they're under pressure to be themselves. They don't, like, some people don't even want to wear, you know, Black History Month is the only time where they will be black, which doesn't make sense because they will wear dashiki or African fabric just for Black History Month.
Mm.
And if they wear cultural clothes, they'll feel away, like, oh, people are looking at me, they're gonna laugh at me or whatever. Like, but yet you'll have other cultures and races. The Sikh will come to work with his turban, or do you know what I mean? Like,
Even especially for black women, just feeling out of
women will
place
wear,
in your place of work,
yeah,
going in your headscarf or
yeah, even wearing plaits. I'm actually amazed now that the amount of people, female Negroids or
Mm.
Nagarus, we say, that read the news now with their natural hair. I've seen it, like in the UK,
Mm.
like they're wearing plaits,
Oh yeah, I love it.
and it's like, wow, like before you couldn't do that. You had to wear the dead straight 6E for hair
Mm.
to be accepted.
I remember having a conversation with my boys, like when we were picking our options around the time we were like applying for our first jobs, and everyone
Mm,
was talking about, right, like, are you gonna cut your hair? Are you gonna cut your hair? I was like, bro, why am I cutting my hair to work at a job?
mm,
You think I'm cutting my locks? Are you mad?
mm.
But they were like, no, you might have to, bro. I was like, I'm
But
not
but
cutting my hair for nothing.
that's another interesting point. Like, when you start to transcend people, places, and things
Mm.
in terms of your consciousness, you do realize that a lot of people are attached to things like their hair. And when it's like, no, I'll never cut my hair. Like, your hair's, it will grow back. It's not
Yeah.
you. It's what I mean. Like, but I do get what you're saying in terms of
For a
maintaining
nine to
your
five job, it's not
identity.
happening.
Yeah.
No.
But don't get caught up so much that you're attached
Definitely.
to things, like, even though it's yours and it's your hair, like, if you needed to cut it to survive or to be in a situation, this is where the whole Rastafarian
Mm.
movement, and like certain people's, like, they'll never cut their hair, and then I see dread later on when they cut their hair, they feel like they're now like
They're free.
completely,
Yeah, no, a
do
lot
you
of
know what I mean?
people do feel like that, and I feel like
Because you're carrying all that energy
energy.
for so
Yeah.
long. And I see people with like a tree. They're bald on one side, and like, because they've had this matted
Yeah.
locks for years,
They
and
refuse
they've
to
got,
cut the one long piece of dread they have. Yeah, no.
it's an ideology and a religion and a
Mm.
mindset again. You know, like, your neck's gonna hurt, bro. Just cut it. It's okay. You know, you're not your hair.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But yeah, I think we've had a great conversation,
definitely.
and I want to see more young people come through. So if you know any other young people that would, because the future is,
Mm.
our children, and it's a tribal community thing. It takes a village to raise a nation, as they say.
Definitely.
So yeah, we want to be able to not make the gap between us
Mm.
so wide that the elders don't listen to the youngers and the youngers don't listen to the elders. We've got to come
Mm.
together as one.
I've definitely felt heard just speaking on this space, and I would love to come back here and talk again if I have any young
Listen,
people
you're always
that.
welcome, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, bro. Until the next one.
See.